r/NoSleep. Posted by u/multiverse_trash. Never babysit a teenager named Annie, the rules won't save you. Babysitting with rules wasn't new. Parents always wanted to make sure everything went normally, even without them. Remember not to let Henry eat peanut butter after 6 p.m. Yes, she has to hear my voice every night before falling asleep. Here is the recorder. I have heard and seen all kinds of stuff. So when I saw a post about babysitting Annie, a 16-year-old girl with rules, I immediately thought it was some sort of joke. No, it was not. It was far from a joke as I got to experience it later. It was a dark winter evening. I walked into the 2-story yellow house's yard while teeth-white snow slapped my back and sides. It was the heaviest snowstorm in a few years. My hands pressed a button for me to hear the doorbell ring and quick footsteps coming from inside. The house was cozy and warm. All the walls glowed in blue paint, and the floor seemed to be constructed out of spruce. As I hung my jacket and put my backpack down, Annie looked at me from neatly painted stairs. She held a doll close. Was Guardian the name? I think so. So, welcome, she muttered. She appeared to be a general teen with dyed red, which had already started fading away, shoulder-length hair. H had mentioned about eye patch, which she did have. It was made from black cloth. A dark blue hoodie, with the name Jasper, and bears and moose around it in yellow and green hanged loosely on her body. Even her jeans seemed to be too big for her. But the best thing had to be her yellow woolen stockings, with the other one having a panda and the other one with tiny white text and green dots. I grew up in a house where the temperature was always chilly, even in the summer. Woolen stockings were needed, and as a child, I always wanted the ones with superheroes or animals. I am Leo, but you possibly know that already. She simply stood there awkwardly. Yay. Silence set when no one said anything. Then a thump was heard from upstairs. Like someone had tripped and fallen down. I jerked and looked at Annie, who seemed to get even more anxious. What was that? Annie's face changed from nervous to an awkward smile. Nothing. It was nothing. The silence continued around us. I had never been in a situation like this in a house where I would be babysitting. And the fact that I had to babysit a teen was even more peculiar. Later, I settled in the guest room. It was small but still enough to fit everything I brought with me. After 15 minutes of unpacking, I took a seat on the bed and took out my phone. I had to make sure I memorized every rule. I did think they were stupid, but it would not hurt to follow them. I opened Reddit and read the whole post. Greetings. Because you're viewing this, you must have caught an interest. I'm asking for somebody to babysit the girl, Annie. I'm her guardian, not her parent. We have no relations at all when it comes to blood. It's better for everyone she won't meet her family. Unfortunately, I have an urgent meeting on the weekend, and I have to get someone to babysit her. My co-workers and friends are away at the moment. Even though she is about 16, I won't be letting her stay alone in my house. Don't get me wrong, she is one of the politest and friendliest teenagers I have ever met. Also, no, in my work industry it is not possible or recommended to do a web conference or anything related to such. Questions related to it will be left unanswered. If you decide to apply, then these would be the first instructions you would receive. Just to show an example. You have to babysit her from Friday to Sunday. She will open the door for you when you ring the bell. A spare key is on the table in the first hallway. A paper with numbers is above it. If you need something or the rules tell you to call, here are all of the numbers that you need. You can use the guest bedroom, but leave it tidy when you leave. This should be already clear, but you do understand why I'm reminding you of it. Anyway, I made these rules to make sure you won't get harmed or get in trouble. So the most significant rule is to follow these rules. Remember, follow the rules. The rules. 1. There are some rooms you may not enter. They are the master bedroom, the basement, Annie's bedroom, and the first floor's bathroom. They will be marked by a red flag. Otherwise, feel free to roam around. 2. Always shut open doors. Lock them if they keep opening. If they continue opening even after that, call the number on the number paper that says S before it, tell him the situation. Then take Annie and spend the rest of the day somewhere else. S will call back when he's done. 3. Act polite and honest in Annie's presence. You can swear, but not too much. If she questions anything, reply as soon as you can and as genuinely as you can. You can't question her eye patch, guard, her past, her school, and her family. Otherwise, feel free to ask about her. 4. While cooking food, don't make it too spicy or add too much pepper. Also, take a bit of the food you made, put it on a smaller plate, and leave it beside Annie's plate afterward. 5. You will soon notice Annie carrying a doll with a golden colored mask with her. Her name is Guardian, and she won't harm you as long as you behave. Don't touch her, but you can talk to her. She won't be responding back, but she hears everything. If anything appears weird or you sense something is wrong, ask her for help. 6. If Annie desires to be left alone, go outdoors or in another room. Return when Annie comes out of the room. Do not listen to the voices you hear from there. Do not watch what's going on there. 7. If you decide to go somewhere with Annie like a park or market, she has to see some other people at least twice a week so she won't become isolated. Keep her close to you and do not invite anyone else with you. Make sure she won't wander off or talk with anyone. Keep her busy by chatting with her, telling some stories, asking for her opinions. If anyone approaches Annie, tell them that they got the wrong person and shouldn't annoy you. Then get out of there immediately. Often the said person will start chasing, so leave the place and go home immediately. Remember that you can leave Annie home alone only for a few hours. If I hear that you have been away more than you should be, you can forget about the money and your future plans. 8. She has to go to sleep at 10 p.m. Do your everything to make her asleep. After that, you have to go to every room's door and say this exact phrase loud and clear. Good night, see you tomorrow. Expect for Sunday, you must say, good night, goodbye. This is crucial for your own survival and sanity. 9. If Annie wakes up at 3 a.m. and comes to whine about it, you must directly take her to your car and take a night ride around the town. It doesn't matter where you drive, it has to soothe her down. Just don't go near the woods. Don't stop driving, until she's getting tired. Then you can drive back to the house and help her to her bedroom door. This is important for you and her. 10. If you see anything ominous in the backyard, ignore it. If there's a creature on the window, call Annie, and she will take care of it. 11. At night, when you're sleeping, you may hear something walking in the attic. Ignore it. If it lasts on and it bothers you, put some headphones on or play some music. Just don't play too loud. It has a good hearing. 12. There are going to be many people on the door every day, but you need to keep eye on who exactly comes. If it's a bunch of children, who ask to have Annie play with them and it's daytime, tell them she's busy. If it's night, tell them she will play with them. Then call Annie and tell her about it. If it's an old lady with a tiny dog, that's Mrs. Smith that lives a few houses away from us. She will just come by and ask how you are doing. She's non-hostile. If it's a tall man with a black suit, give him the papers located in the main hallway's cabinet. Take 3 writings out of there and give them to him without eye contact. Don't look at his face. But if he demands anything else, close the door immediately and ask Guardian for help. If it's an insect-looking creature and they ask for food, provide them some. Then shut the door without saying anything. If the doorbell rings, but no one is there, leave the door unlocked and leave the TV on. The door will close on its own, and when the TV goes off, don't open it for a couple of hours. If it's anybody else, don't let them in. Just close the door. Whatever they say, close the door. 13. After all this is done, never interact with Annie again. Never mention her. If you notice her anywhere, don't even look at her. Ignore. Forget. I informed the rules here because I want to make sure people are aware of the hazards. I can't stand charges, missing reports, and people coming to investigate what happened. If you still are sure about applying, I'm more than glad to hire you to babysit Annie. For $950,000. Not a joke. I'll send the money after you've done your part. Sincerely, H. Insect creatures? Kids playing at night? Saying good night at every door? Why does H use the word non-hostile? This had to be some sort of prank. No wonder anyone else hadn't applied to this job. Or maybe babysitting was not taken seriously when it came to teenagers. Still, the final rule made me wonder. So, I have to act like Annie never existed after this? That was an unusual request. Then, what about the money? $950,000 was the amount H had offered. Where would he even get that kind of cash? This house did not look brand new, so I didn't understand. Maybe he just liked old houses better and worked in a well-paying company. Maybe it's time to talk a little about myself. As you noticed while reading this, my name is Leo Ryder. I am a 36-year-old man from Canada, and I live with my 2 cats, Cole and Poppy. I was a teacher 3 years ago until I got fired by the principal since a lot of parents and children had complained about my teaching style and strictness. Never understood it to this day, but never mind. I like little kids as much as they would be my own. That is why I chose to start babysitting since kindergartens were full of too many children. I got a good amount of money from it, and I did work part-time jobs as well. The rest of the Thursday evening went without any trouble. Annie behaved as politely as she would and showed around the house. I did, however, notice how shyly she talked while I was around her. At supper, she didn't eat anything until I got out of the kitchen. Later I heard how she made her way into her room and even saw her taking a plate full of sandwiches with her. Of course, I considered pointing it out, but if she did it, it had to mean she had permission to do it. I made sure Annie went to sleep at 10 p.m. Then I read Rule 8 again just to be sure. I did as it told, feeling very silly. No one answered, and no one appeared. But when I finally went to the basement store, a feeling of unease took me over. Basements have constantly been a little unnerving, but this was different. Something wasn't right, but I carried on to do it. The floor was concrete, cold to touch. The air smelled like every other basement. It smelled aged, dry, and rustic. Only one light bulb gave light to this place before the basement door. Good night, see you tomorrow. As I left the room and walked up the stairs, I heard someone open the door with a loud creak. My back getting goosebumps, I turned my head to see nothing. The metal door was shut as it was earlier. I just shrugged it off and went to check the backyard. Watching it from the window, it seemed alright. No intruders or weird people. At night I had trouble sleeping. To be honest, I have always had a little trouble sleeping, but this was something far worse. My eyes could not even close while I was on the bed. Like a force was keeping them open. Then I heard the footsteps. Heavy footsteps were coming from the attic above me. The planks moved on each step that was made. My mouth kept shut as it stopped walking, and I heard something eerie. Nails clawing the plank floor above me. Something clawed onto the floor. No, there is no way someone or something would be clawing onto the floor. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't even shut my eyes, they just kept staring at the ceiling. It just continued. On and on and on and on. When the morning came, I had not gotten much sleep. The clawing had stopped after an hour. Whatever was doing it had given up. I was not going to check it out. Maybe it was a raccoon or some other animal who had nested in the attic. Annie had already made herself breakfast when I stepped into the kitchen. "Good morning. How was your sleep?" I asked her with a small smile. Annie glanced at me and replied with a silent good. We sat down in silence and ate our meals. Annie seemed to be in her own world, which made me remember someone from the time I was a teacher. Nothing too special, it was just that Annie's hair rolled around her finger was so familiar. Like I had seen it before. That is when I remembered the doll. "Where is Guardian?" Annie's hands stopped spooning cereal from the red bowl and turned her head to me. No reply. She just stared at me with her brown eye full of emptiness. No, that question was only about the location of the doll. That couldn't have hurt, right? Under her eye patch, something seemed to be glowing yellow light. My eyes widened. Air got heavy. The light illuminated Annie's face, making it seem chilling. Her brown eye changed to black and her hair covered part of her face. "Annie, are you okay?" I finally asked silently after an eternity. Annie's look changed. "I'm fine. Guardian is just resting." The glow ceased immediately, and everything appeared to proceed back to normal. That left me tense and confused. What on earth was going on? Of course, the rules seemed to be about insect creatures and black suit men, but there had to be a logical reason for it. I wasn't sure what, but there had to be something. After breakfast, I washed the dishes and watched TV. I thought of talking with Annie in the afternoon. I wanted to know and understand her better. Annie seemed to like spending time in her room. Maybe she was an artistic kid. Maybe she just liked being alone. That's what I wanted to find out. Later I went outside to shovel some snow out of the driveway in case of Rule 9. The driveway was quite packed with snow, so I started as soon as I finished watching TV. After I had done it halfway through, I heard a voice from the street. An old woman was walking her dog and calling me. "Excuse me, are you the babysitter?" "Yes, I'm Leo. It's nice to meet you." The woman smiled. "I'm Mrs. Smith. I live just a few houses down on the street." I nodded, remembering Rule 12, where she was mentioned. "Isn't it strange to babysit Annie? That girl acts as if she were already an adult. My grandson would need that kind of energy," Mrs. Smith stated while her Pomeranian barked at the other dog and their owner at the other side of the street. "Also, this house has always been a little weird. Some people even say it's haunted." This piqued my interest. "Haunted, huh? Why so?" I continued shoveling little by little the rest of the snow as she spoke. "Well, the neighbors of this place have told me that they hear all kinds of noises, and sometimes they even see odd animals around the house. Can you believe that?" Mrs. Smith kept chattering about how the house was haunted, and in no time, I was ready. Anyway, I have to go back inside since I'm done. Would you like some coffee? I offered as I put the shovel aside. Mrs. Smith puffed. No, thank you. That house has always crept me a bit, and even though Annie is such a nice girl, that doll she carries with her is off-putting to say at least. With those words, she said goodbye and left. At 2 p.m., I prepared lunch and remembered to put a smaller plate for Guardian. As Annie came down to eat, she put the doll in front of its plate. The doll's 1800s blue dress shined in the light as it had small diamond-like material sewed into its skirt. Guardian's black as dark skin, however, didn't reflect light. I'll take this to my room, Annie stood up as she uttered. This time I decided to say something. But wouldn't it be better to eat here and talk with me? Little chatting, you know? The yellow glow returned. Guardian's face twisted and looked at me with its mask's wide black mouth. The air got heavier and heavier with every passing minute. Pressure started to grow in my body. Immediately, I regretted saying anything at all. My mouth tried to mutter, "I am sorry." The glow ceased once more, but this time slower. Like she was waiting for me to say something else. Then she eventually left. Guardian moved its head back to its original position. I left the kitchen as soon as I had made sure the doll was not going to move more. The food in my stomach was not there for long. The doorbell rang. Rule 12, I thought to myself when I went to the door and opened it. I expected kids to be waiting outside, but instead of them, a young man with light hair and a suit stood straight on the doormat. Fortunately, the suit wasn't black, but green. His gaze looked around the house past me. "Hello. I've been sent from, redacted. Is this where Hewart lives in?" Hewart had to be H's name. The man's voice was monotone, robotic. Hairs on my hands stood up as I replied, "I'm sorry, but you must leave." Like a cat, his eyes locked on me. "Why?" "Because I have been told so. Please excuse me." My voice trembling, I started closing the door. But he wasn't done. He put his shoe between the door and doorframe, like in the old times the wandering vendors did. "Where is Hewart? Tell me, Leo. Where is he?" His voice sounded more and more like a robot or something similar. My heart stopped, and my hands started to sweat. He knew my name. He knew my name. My shaking hands continued pushing the door without any progress. That man's foot didn't move an inch. "Leo, where is he? Where is Hewart?" Now his head was peeking from the door chink. He had to be something else than human. No human had cat irises and sharp teeth. His eyes scanned around the hallway, looking for something. I couldn't think anything. My mind was empty. He had to be just an illusion. He could not have been real. "Leo, it's getting cold," Annie shouted from her room. Oh no! That had to be no good. The creature's eyes locked this time on the stairs. The door shattered in front of my eyes as he pushed his way through. Junks and pieces of wood hit my body, making me have multiple scratches and bruises. I tumbled down, hitting the wall. Massive pain took over my head. The freezing wind roared in my ears as it got inside. All I could do was to whisper, "Help, Guardian." The rest of it is a blur since everything went black. I don't recall anything other than high-pitched shrieking. It was probably that man. When I eventually woke up, Annie was beside me putting bandages on my cuts. She had brought a first aid kit with her, which was next to her. But when I turned my head, the door was still there. No sign of forced entering, no sign of blood or snow. Nothing. Just the normal hallway. What? Annie, what happened? Where's the man? The words slipped out of my mouth and faded away. Annie didn't say anything. She just made sure I was alright. At that point, it felt like the rules were real. I mean, Hewart had mentioned why he did have written them, but in the end, were they actually keeping you safe? "Leo, you broke a rule, and I hope you won't do it again." I lifted my head up to see Annie's worried expression. Her voice fainter than earlier, she continued, "Please, follow the rules." She then left me alone sitting on the floor, wondering if anything was actually real about this house. The rest of the day went uneventfully. It felt uncomfortable for both of us. The girl seemed to be nervous yet again. It was almost like it was a permanent emotion for her. It was more reasonable if I did not question it. This time I followed the rules and kept my phone with me to make sure I remembered everything right. Annie went to sleep at 10 p.m. I visited every door in the house and said the exact same thing. I closed all the open doors. I even locked the front and back doors even though they were not part of the rules. Just to be sure. Some doors kept opening, but thank God they stayed closed after I closed them. When I was making tea for myself to relax, I noticed a glimpse of a piece of clothing hanging from outside in the backyard. As I carefully went closer, I also noticed a familiar head laying in the snow with black liquid around it. It was the man. His suit hanging from the tree without his body. I turned away and took my tea to the guest room, even though it wouldn't help me sleep. When the night came, this time only those footsteps were heard. They still kept me up since I still didn't know what it was that made those noises. Rule 9 showed itself when I heard a couple of knocks on my door. The clock displayed 2:59 a.m., and it was as dark as it could be outdoors. Not even the moon shined. Annie's pale and tired face showed up at the end of the bed. "I can't sleep." Her voice was almost non-existent, like a small whisper in a void. I got up carefully, and put my socks on. "Okay then, let's go for a night ride, shall we?" Heward had borrowed his car for me since I didn't have one myself. I did have a driver's license, which did make things more manageable. As I got in the car, Annie hadn't moved from the doorframe. She had put on her shoes, and black and blue jacket. Her hands held tight guardian as she watched unsurely. "Where are we going?" My heart softened. She sounded like a small lost child. Even though she was a teenager, she nonetheless seemed like a genuine kid. Annie truly did remind me of someone. But the memories were hazy. Like a cloud that I tried to grab, but it just evaporated away. "I told you. Night ride." I gestured, coming in. "I promise you will fall asleep. I'll even carry you to the couch if you are fine with that." That made Annie finally move and get inside. When I started backing up from the yard, I felt eyes watching me. I looked up and almost screamed. A dark shadow was staring at us from the attic window. I saw its large yellow eyes following my every movement. I sped up without Annie noticing it and drove away. The night was eerily quiet. No one was outside. The town around us loomed. Shadows danced in the small random lights that came whenever from the window of a house and whenever from a small lamp or an advertisement on the street. I reminded myself not to go near the woods. "What kind of things do you like?" I tried starting a conversation. Annie stayed quiet for a while before replying. "I'm not sure. Cats, games, reading, I guess." I nodded. "Okay, well, what genre is your favorite? Fantasy, comedy, horror?" As I peeked at her, her shoulders were tense and her hands still tight around Guardian. The doll's dark blue dress was a bit messy. Annie started to nod off after half an hour. Her eyes shut, and Guardian slipped away from her hands. It was time to go back. To get back, I had to drive over an old stone bridge. When we got off it, I caught a glimpse of a figure standing near the car. It had a dark body and something white covering its face. It stood over 3 meters tall and stared as I drove away. Hair on my body stood up, and my grip tightened on the wheel. The rest of the way, I kept glancing in the rearview mirror. I swear I could have seen a silhouette of the creature following the car. The sun finally rose at 10 a.m., making the snow blinding to look at. Today I had thought of going outside to a park, but I was too afraid to get out of my room. Anything could happen. The rules were true and, it was awful. I was not honestly prepared for anything like this. "Leo, can you make eggs and bacon for breakfast?" Annie requested as she opened the door. Her voice had gotten more confident. She saw me and tried to continue. But she couldn't. I probably looked horrible. I hadn't slept the whole night. When I had gotten her to the couch, I had run to my room and stayed the whole night up trying to find an answer to this all. "Sorry, but Rule 3 flashed before my eyes." "Never mind, wait for a few minutes." "You don't really need to. I can do it myself too," she said and turned away. Something struck the window. Annie turned around as quick as a cat. Her eyes widened. Annie walked to the window next to my bed. I jumped off the bed, hurting myself worse than earlier. "Oh no," I heard a whisper from her as she stared outside. My eyes followed hers, and my heart sank. A lanky figure stood on the other side of the window. Its white deer skull mask touched the glass, and so did its thin fingers. The creature from the night. It was over 3 meters since the guest room was in the second story. "Are the doors locked? How about the windows? Leo, did you see it when you were driving?" Annie's whisper-yelling voice woke me up. "Don't tell me you saw it. Please, tell me it's only here because it happens to be simply hungry." I couldn't breathe. All this going on made me go insane. I needed an explanation. I had to know what the hell was going on with this house and with this girl. "I'm sorry. I saw it." The moment I said it, Annie ran out of the room and checked all the doors and windows. They were all locked, but she was restless. I dressed up as she kept an eye on the thing. She quickly told me it was a Wendigo, A monster born from humans and their greediness. There are a few types of Wendigos, and this one is a seeker type of one. A Wendigo that if someone saw it, started seeking for them later to attack them to eat for its hunger, Annie explained. I didn't really get it, but there were all kinds of stuff happening around, so my brain was full of it. Isn't anyone outside seeing it? Somebody must have called the police, I pointed out. Annie shook her head. No. No one sees it. Nor other stuff that is happening. Suddenly a knock was heard from the front door. Annie's expression told me not to open it. Now all I could do was to trust her. The gut feeling told me so. We have to go to the attic. Her words paralyzed my legs. After 2 nights, I just couldn't go there. Even though being a male adult, there was no way I was going to the place where I had seen the dark shadow and its yellow eyes watching me. Not even Satan could have gotten me there. I tried to say something, but Annie had already rushed towards the ceiling hatch in the hallway. Adrenaline pushed in as I ran to the hallway too, and saw her opening it. Did we actually need to rush? That Wendigo creature wasn't coming inside, and knocks could be still heard. There was no danger yet, right? I thought so until the door was destroyed once again and the guest's bedroom's window was broken. Then all of the doors began opening and closing. The movements were rapid. It was almost like they tried to stop me from getting to the attic. Annie was already in there, saying something in a mad tone. Then she motioned for me to come. I did my best, but since I still had those bruises, every hit hurt more than the last one. Then the screaming and moaning started. Something was coming from downstairs. Like hundreds of zombies and mummies dragging themselves across the floor and stairs. I had to keep myself moving. Finally, I climbed the ladders and pulled myself to the attic. Annie closed the hatch as soon as someone started to call out for us in a deep voice. Leo. Annie. Please, where are you? Don't listen to it. Annie's voice was more confident than ever. She pulled an old armchair on the hatch. Her tiny body had given me an impression of her being not so athletic, but I was wrong. She easily had lifted it up and carried it. I felt my chest hurting and my feet tired. Then it hit me. I was in the attic. Place where I had heard and seen the footsteps. But I didn't see anyone. The attic was larger than I thought. Still, there weren't many hiding spots. Annie noticed my worried face. Oh. You must think about the footsteps. I nodded. Annie sat down, taking Guardian out of her hoodie's pocket. We have to call the experts here to take care of the situation, and he talked to Guardian, who stayed silent. Was it actually a living doll? I wouldn't have been surprised at that point. Headaches started kicking in. The night had fallen when outside was pitch black. The clock on my watch displayed 7:38 p.m. The opening and closing doors were still heard through the floor. Voices had already stopped. Annie had been alone in one of the corners, cradling Guardian in her hands. Since she had told Guardian to call help, a smile had formed on her round face. I had taken another corner so that creature couldn't jump scare me. Though I started to think the creature wasn't solid. Shadows danced around us, making the attic more dreadful. If you are worried about the rules, they are useless now, Annie's voice echoed from her corner. But you will be paid the amount he promised in the email. No, that's the least of my worries. You do understand we are stuck in an attic without any escape other than just a small window. Here is a creature that scared me at night, and outside is a bunch of other monsters waiting to kill us. My throat was getting dry. It hurt to talk. Annie didn't care what I said. She was more focused on the sounds of police cars that came from the distance. They are not police. It must be the saviors we have been waiting for. Hunter District. In the end, I ended up getting home a day earlier. It took an entire night for those hunters, as Annie called them, to calm down the whole house and make sure it was safe for us to leave the attic. As I lowered myself down, I saw 10 people dressed in protective gear surround Annie and ask questions. I was only asked a few, and they told me to pack my things and leave. On my way to the front door, a man came through it with a white shirt and black pants. His dark green eyes locked on mine. Leo, I am sorry. His deep voice made me relax. I thought that you would be fine and the rules would make sure you wouldn't get hurt, but it looks like I was wrong. This man had to be Heward, there was no other way he could have talked about the rules. I sighed. You know, now I have experienced everything. I got home after the clock displayed 8 a.m. I made myself some food while Poppy and Cole rubbed themselves onto my legs. It felt comforting. Finally, at my home, eating some well-spiced food, have my cat sleeping next to me and TV on. It felt heaven after all that. But I don't think it's over. No, I don't think so. Because I see shadows now everywhere I go. Because someone watches me when I sleep. Because my doors open and close when I don't look. Because men in suits are knocking on my door now and then. But the worst of it? I found something in the attic. When Annie decided to take a little nap, I noticed a box near me, where was on a paper written Annie's school. My curiosity rose, and I opened the box silently. There were many papers and notebooks, but one of them stuck out to me. It was a school shooting day picture. There was a whole class and 2 teachers standing next to them. Annie was easy to spot. She was standing in the last line, having long hair and a small smile. Then I saw myself. I was the other teacher. I had been an assistant for a teacher in Finland for a few months. No wonder Annie was so familiar. She had been a quiet and shy student, but at the same time, energetic and happy with her friends. But that wasn't it. In the picture, Annie looked around the same as now, just the hair and clothes were different. She was 15-year-old. Only when I got home, did I realize it. The picture was taken 12 years ago.